Hello everyone, I'm your lecturer for today and my name is Mary Munar, and I hope and pray that you are all okay, and we will discuss about the reasons for coming up with K-12 and the K-12 program of various countries. So let us all start. In a historic moment for advocates of educational equity, President Benigno Aquino III approved Republic Act RA 10533, signing into the law the K-12 program on May 15, 2013. So, the Philippines was the only country in Southeast Asia which provide 10 years of basic education to its population. But ever since the K-12 implementations, the country has joined its neighbors in adopting an education system which will provide more opportunities to students on a global scale. So, there are benefits of K-12 program. Number 1, preparedness for tertiary learning. According to Pbte, this would be an advantage to the young adults venturing out into the professional world because they would be much more equipped to deal with the higher level of learning as they enter college. With this, they can choose to continue their education to higher forms, which will be another great journey to access essential learning developments. So number 2, readiness to join the workforce. Unlike the old curriculum, K-12 can make students more prepared in joining the workforce. So they can choose if they will pursue or not their college program. Number 3, skill competency in the global market. The Department of Education promises to offer higher quality education through the strands. Each track will give the students enough time to master a field and enhance skills in their respective industry, and by the end of the curriculum, K-12 graduates will be ready to become globally competitive and are set to obtain a spot in the meticulous labor market. So number 4, K-12 is a learner-centered curriculum. K-12 as a student-centered curriculum can influence the students to take a more active role in the learning process, with the freedom and the flexibility to choose what they will learn, how they will learn, and how they can evaluate your own learning. This would be a way to teach them about independence and how to be a reliable member of a team. So number 5, the last one, K-12 foster gainful employment and entrepreneurship. Unlike the previous education system, K-12 offers more opportunities for employment and entrepreneurship. On the other hand, they can set up their own business or continue their education in college. So this is a very good advantage for those students get K-12 program. So all the option will help every student to step up, improving their competence, skills, and professional characteristics. 5 countries implementing K-12 program. First is Mongolia. It's a low middle income country and has a large proportion of nomadic people, about 26%. Over the past decade, successive waves of reform have restructured the Mongolian school education system 3 times, initiated 3 rounds of curriculum revision, dropped the threshold age of entry from 6 to 8 and increased participation at all school education levels. Transition to a 12-year education cycle was undertaken stepwise between 2007 and 2015. Structural change was bundled with reform, focusing on achieving international standards for participation, curriculum, teaching methods, and student knowledge and skills competencies. Number 2 is Ontario, Canada. Ontario is a high-income province with an education system that is widely recognized as high-performing, equitable, and fair. A changing economy and a large population of immigrants shape Ontario ongoing priorities for equity and next generation education. School education reform was organized around preparing all students for life and started with baseline and intermittent student of intermittent studies of students' destinations. Result of those studies from all aspects of education reform at the secondary level and aspired to smooth transition to the workplace, as well as further education and training. So number 3 is Philippines. The Philippines is a low middle income country. The K-12 reform entails extension of compulsory education to include kindergarten and a brand new level of education, grade 11 and 12. This upper secondary school program incorporates many next generation features such as contextualized learning for core and elective subjects, dual vocational education, and inclusion of cognitive and no cognitive competencies in the curriculum alongside content. So, the next is Poland. Among Eastern and Central European former communist countries, Poland, a high-income country, has the most success in improving education outcomes. In 1999, concerns about future economic competitiveness by low school participation rates and poor learning outcomes. The first restructuring added a new level of education, lower secondary schools, to the system by reducing the number of grades in the primary and USS levels, thereby extending school education by 1 year. Highly visible changes in performance only 3 years after the first round of reform was launched, motivated schools and teachers to support complementary reforms centered on teaching practices and focus on supporting weaker students and improving vocational USS. Next is the last one is Turkey. Since 2003, economic growth in Turkey, a high middle income country, has increased its per capita income threefold. But chaos in neighboring countries has influenced, at least in part, a slowdown in economic growth. Education, access, equity, and quality have all improved dramatically over the past 15 years as a result of government-initiated programs alongside in strands of living. There are five consideration in these five countries. First is clarify the core problem. So, the core problems translate into foundational policies such as improving national competitiveness or inclusive growth. Na restating macro policies as educational outcomes align education reforms with macro level development priorities. So number 2 is restructuring is just one of a bundle of reforms. Transition of K-12 structures is part of package or overall education reform, and as the most visible part often becomes a symbol for the entire package. So number 3 is maintain focus on improving student competencies. It is easy to lose focus on student learning in the pressure to prepare and implement a highly visible, multi-dimensional, and financial demanding K-12 reform. However, education programs are judged first and foremost by how will all students perform in assessment of their learning outcomes and competencies. So number 4 is teachers are the engine that pulls K-12 reform along, slow it down or derails it. Even in very high achieving education system, teacher professionals develop is a sign Conan of any reform. In high achieving system, teachers develop tends to be peer centered. And lastly, number 5 is replace or supplement high stakes examinations with low stakes continuous testing. High stakes tends to reinforce inequalities between families that can afford private tutoring and families that cannot. So, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you learned in this discussion, and God bless you all and happy holiday. Thank you.